Hello, I am Pranjali from onlineclass4u.com. Today I will be going to teach you some basics of computer. What is computer? Computer is an electronic device that is designed to work with information. It is used to store data as an input, then process that data based on the instructions given by the users or the software or the hardware, and then after processing it outputs it into a desired format. The term computer is derived from the Latin term called computer. This means to calculate or programmable machine. Charles Babbage is known as the father of the computer. So that means what? He is the first man who designed the analytical engine of the computer. So there are four parts of computer: central processing unit, memory, input device, and output device. So now we'll discuss about these four parts one by one. What is central processing unit? Central processing unit, in short, it is also known as CPU. CPU is the primary component of a computer. That is, it is known as the brain of the computer. Why? Because this is the most important part of the computer which is used for processing all the instructions. This is the only processing device of the computer. It runs all the applications, receives from the user, then processes the data and produces output. CPU is also used for solving arithmetical problems like additions, subtraction, multiplication, division, and logical problems like less than, greater than. That is, if we have two numbers, then when we will be comparing these numbers, whether which one is greater than or which one is smaller than, those things are also done in CPU. So CPU is again divided into three parts. One is the arithmetic and logic unit, the other one is control unit, and the third one is the memory unit. Now, if we move on to the first slide, here I'll explain you this input. What is input? Basically, the data which will be sending to the CPU is known as the input. So from input, first the data will be going to the CPU. CPU means what? CPU is again divided into arithmetic and logic unit, control unit, and the memory. First, the data which will be coming from the input device, it will go to the memory. Then from memory, it will come to the arithmetic and logic unit. That means according to the instructions, if there is a mathematical calculations, then it will come to arithmetic and logic unit. And after doing the calculations, it will again go to the memory. If we want to store it, then it will store it in the memory, and otherwise if you want to give an output, then it will directly go to the output device. So next comes the memory. What is memory? Memory is an internal storage areas in the computer. This memory is basically, it has the ability to take informations from the input device, then it process it. If you want to store it, it will be storing it, or if you want to print it, then it will be coming it as an output. Computer memory is again of two types. One is the RAM and the other one is ROM. Now, what is RAM? RAM is known as random access memory. Here, the data which is stored in the computer, if the power is turned off, then that data will not be able to retrieve it. That means that data is lost. So, because of that reason, this memory is known as a volatile memory. That is, the data is temporary. We cannot store it permanently. That is why it is known as read-write memory or the primary memory. RAM is again of two types: static random access memory and dynamic random access memory. Next come to ROM. What is ROM? ROM is read-only memory. This memory is known as a non-volatile memory. Why? Because whatever data is stored in this memory, whether the power goes off, then also the data remains there. So the data here remains permanently. This memory is again divided into three types: programmable read-only memory, erasable programmable read-only memory, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. Now comes to input device. What is an input device? Input device is one type of hardware through which we send data to the computer. The data can be of any form. It may be in the form of text, it may be in the form of numerical numbers, it may be pictures or sound. That means through input device, we used to send the raw data. That means without any calculations, we send it to the computer for processing. And the most commonly used input device is the keyboard and the mouse. Next come to output device. Like the input device, output device is also a hardware which is used to display the result of the processing raw data. But that means what happens? Whenever we send data to input device, it will go to the CPU. There the data will be processed, and with the help of output device, it will be displayed in the screen according to the instruction of the software or the hardware. The most commonly used output device are the monitor and the printer. Next come to computer language. What is a computer language? This computer language is divided into four different languages. First one is the machine language, second is the assembly language, the third one is the high level language, and the fourth one is the fourth generation language. So machine language, if we come to machine language, that language is also known as first generation. So here, this is only language that computer understands. It is in the form of 0 and 1, where 0 means off and 1 means on. Machine language has one advantage, that is it is of very high speed and very low speed memory utilization. Now come to assembly language. Assembly language uses mnemonics code or symbols in place of 0 and 1. For example, if the operation code for add is 0010 in binary language, then that can be directly written as ADD, that is add, in assembly language, because assembly language uses symbolic codes. Hence, this language is very easy to work and it is more easier than the binary language. But for understanding the assembly language by the computer, because computer only understands 0 and 1. So here we are using mnemonics code. So that mnemonics code need to be translated if the computer needs to understand that language. So here the translator is known as assemblers, through which we'll be converting the assembly language into machine language. Next comes the high-level language. What is high-level language? High-level language, as we all know, there are different types of languages like C, C++, Java, etc. are some of the popular examples of high-level language. This high-level language also needs to be translated into machine language. Then only computer will understand, right? Because computer understands 0 and 1. So though we are writing the instructions in C, C++ or Java, these are the programming languages. If you are writing programs through these languages, we need some translator through which this high-level language need to be translated to machine language, that is 0 and 1. So for converting this high-level language to machine language, we use a translator programs. There are two types of translator programs. One is the interpreter and the other one is the compiler. So for converting the high-level language to machine language, we use two translator programs. One is the compiler and the other one is the interpreter. Next comes the fourth generation language. These fourth generation languages are closer to human language than any other high-level language. It is a combination of language with many features. That is, it is user-friendly, it has high speed of execution, minimum efforts from the user to obtain any information. For more details, please log into our website www.onlineclass4u.com.